So we've been doing, good morning, everybody. We've been doing a lot of interviews with a lot of team members lately. And I see there is one question that you might get stuck into. And I want to make sure that you have full understanding of what is Safe Agile and pretty much what do we do there and what is the purpose of this meeting. And just give me 1 second. I'm trying to find, so. Okay, so I find it very useful to actually share what is the agenda for PI planning, which is program increment, where actually if you have multiple teams that they're building the same product. Mohammed put the analogy before that if you're building an iPhone, right? If you're building an iPhone and you think that there is one team building the iPhone, you will be 100% fooling yourself. An iPhone could be built, I don't know, it could be 10 teams, it could be even 100 teams, okay, working together to build a piece that you can actually play with it. So there will be a team focused on camera, there will be a team focused on notifications only, there will be a team focused on your iCloud, there will be a team focused on your memory, there will be a team focused on the performance, there will be a team focused on your screen, right? There'll be a team focused on the design outside, there will be a team focused on your battery, there will be a team focused on compliance and working with pretty much all the countries to make sure that it is safe to get exported. So there are multiple teams, right? And if those teams don't talk together, pretty much you will never have that product, right? So let's talk from a software perspective, the teams that working to make sure that the screen works and the camera works and it does actually what it's supposed to do. And all the buttons that you're clicking, it's sending you to the places that you want to go. So how do we do that? Let's say that we have a company that, or we call it a program because a company might have multiple programs. A program could be only working on, I would say, the visual stuff, all the stuff that they are in the screen, the application-wise piece. There will be another program working on all the hardware piece. So we're focusing today on the software piece because we work mainly in software. So pretty much, let's say that Apple has 15 teams working to produce the new iOS 15, whatever. I don't know, where are we? I don't know. I think now we're iOS 13 or 14. But yeah, pretty much the next operating system, the iPhone operating system 15. And they have 15 teams working on it, right? Those 15 teams will come together in a ceremony, in a meeting, but we call it a ceremony called PI planning, which is program increment, okay? What is the agenda for this program increment? That's what I'm about to share. Please let me know when you see my screen. I'm sharing okay. I was buying a ball for my dog. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So this is the agenda for a PI planning, which what we call program increment. Okay. First day, the whole program increment, which is a 2-day event, is facilitated or led by a person called an RTE release. Please, if you're not team, please, if you're not speaking, go on mute. Pujan, can you please go on mute? Pujan, thank you. Okay. So first day is the product on first day, and the second day is facilitated again by a person called RTE, release train engineer. She or he is responsible to make sure the whole ceremony is moving smooth. So the meeting starts with business context. All the executives leader, I would say it could be even the CEO, the COO, the director of engineering. So it's going to start with director of product or somebody high-end from product to speak about what is the state of the business right now. Hey, we've been doing a great success on iPhone 14. We've been expanding in all the countries. We sold last year, I don't know, 1 billion iPhones, and we're planning to sell next year 1.5 billion. And so this is the state of the business. Next piece is the product. We'll speak about the vision. We want right now to actually enable not only 3 cameras, we want to enable 4 cameras in your phone. The next priority features is we want to enable you to scan documents, and a feature that you take a picture and you flip it to words pretty much and steal the words from it. This is a new capability that we do. We want to enable you to have multiple SIM cards. We want to enable. So these are the new features that we want to give to the business within the next year or so. Mainly, we're focused on the next quarter, but the business can give a vision for even the next year. And you can see here, the product managers are speaking and the attendees are all the teams together. Next, we give it to the architecture team. The architect is the person that makes sure that all our infrastructure, which are the systems that talks together, they are talking in the right way so the data does not get clogged somewhere. So the architecture we speak about. Right now, we're using the cloud, we're using multiple softwares to enable us to kick our main software that we're doing, and we're going to enhance our multiple softwares, and we're adding new components to make sure that our iPhones are going faster. Now, it comes to your piece as a Scrum Master, which is the only piece that you're going to facilitate, which is from 11 to 3 here, which is 4 hours you're sitting with the team, or 3 hours you're sitting with the team and actually facilitating. Each team will go to their own room, and now we don't go to physical rooms, so you're going to go to your own Zoom link, and you're going to start working with the team to actually lay down the next 5 sprints. So the best PI, and that's something I want to share with the team, the best PI that you walk into is a PI that the team already know what is the work and they size the work. So what they're going to do in these 3 hours is doing Tetris, pretty much, is laying out the work to make sure that it is laid out in the right sequence. We're not blocking each other, making sure that the dependencies on other team are very well known. So if I have a dependency, if I am team 5 and I have a dependency on team 2, I'm going to send messenger from my room to team 2 and speak to them. Hey, we want this piece. We want you to update the database on sprint 3. Are you going to be able to do this? Because we're going to add to the database on sprint 4. They're going to be low. No, we can't do it in sprint 3. We can do it in sprint 5. So the person will explain the urgency, and then the team will be like, yes, actually, you know what? We can do it even in sprint 2. So the person is going to come back to the team and say, I got a commitment from team, whatever, that yes, we're going to get this piece on sprint 2, so we can work on our piece on sprint 3. So now you made sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. You made sure that we have a plan that all the team agrees into. Then you go for lunch, and then you present, you as a Scrum Master or the PO, present the plan, which is in the first sprint, we're planning to deliver blah, blah, blah. In the second sprint, we're planning to deliver blah, blah, blah. Third sprint, fourth sprint, and fifth sprint. And then after we finish the plan, everybody goes home after that. And then senior management will sit together and see what are the challenges with this plan and if the team needs to adjust. Next day, the management again will start and saying that we went through the plan and we think it's a great plan. Please continue and button up the plan. Or we went through the plan and we found out that we cannot continue with this plan and we need to readjust. Okay, so the team will readjust or continue with the plan and is going to go to another breakout room, continue with the plan or readjust, and then pretty much at the last or the middle of the second day, you're presenting your final plan, and that's the team presenting the final plan. After you present the final plan, the RTE will do like pretty much like a vote of, we're going to do like look at the risks, which is pretty much whether it's accepted, mediated, or mitigated, or owned pretty much. So it is something that we accept or own or mitigate. And then the RTE does like a confidence vote. It's like a poll online, just asking everybody in this PI, what do you think of level of confidence that we're going to hit this plan? Generally speaking, you want the confidence level to be more than 3 out of 5. And then the RTE also facilitates a retrospective. It's exactly like the retrospective that the team does, which is what went well, what did not go well, and a shout out and a thank you. So the team actually start to gather ideas how can we improve on the next PI, and then pretty much if there's any rework needs to happen, it happens at the end. So that's the PI. I want to pause here and ask the team, do you have any questions? Because this is a very important question. And I find a lot of team members, they struggle to articulate it in our interviews. And I want to make sure everybody in this call has digested it. And it's something that you can speak to in your next interview.
Hey, Mohammed, and you mentioned about the risk earlier. One of the questions that we have on our idea boards is, what is risk analysis and how do you manage risk in your team? So it's exactly what Mohammed just mentioned. We roam the risks and we either we put a title on it. It's either mitigated or owned or resolved or whatever the status is. Actually, we put on there.
It comes from Rome here, which is what was R for? Resolved. It's a risk that we know and we've resolved it already. O, it comes from owned. We know this risk and we own it. I know it's a risk and I want to move with it. It is A, which is accepted as well. I know and I accept it. I own it. It means that it's my risk and I'm going to move with it. I accept it is I know it's a risk and I know it might not happen, but again, the plan is very important, so I own that risk. And M is mitigated, which is we pretty much understand that there's a risk, but we're going to meet every sprint to make sure that it doesn't happen. So that's how we mitigate this risk and make sure that it doesn't hit us pretty much. Thank you, Mohammed, for kind of like hitting two birds with one stone. All right. Any questions, team, on what is PI planning? Okay.
Yeah, just I have a question. So when I was going through your interviews, you say that when you're doing PI planning, you plan for 5 sprints and then you leave the 6th sprint for a buffer. Yes. When you say a buffer, is it that, could you explain like what happens during the 6th sprint when it's a buffer? Like, yes. Could you just, yeah.
It's a great question. So that's a great question, actually. So we plan the 5 sprints and we don't put anything in the 6 sprints. That's what I mean by buffer. We leave it empty, or at least like maybe a couple of stories. But if the team's capacity is 50, I want to see the last sprint has 5-point story or 10 max. So a buffer, it means that you're leaving a room because the plan, you might cover stuff while in the PI, right? So you might be working on a single story in the first sprint and the team say, aha, we did not account for that. We have to talk to security and open like a firewall so we can speak to this system, right? That's a new work that we didn't even think about in the PI, right? So that's an added work. If you filled up your 6th sprint completely, and if you add that work, now you busted the whole plan, right? Now you're gonna commit to something, you've committed to something that you can't finish. But we're leaving the final sprint as empty. So if anything, an emergency, somebody got sick, we lost power, we found new work within the PI that we didn't account for, all that can be mitigated and is not going to impact the failure of the whole plan because you left the room at the end for any emergencies. That's the explanation of buffer. Also in the last sprint, you're going to start looking at the next PI as well, because it's a continuous wheel, right? Every 3 months, you're doing a PI planning. So at the last sprint, which is the 6th sprint, the RTE is going to start talking to you. Hey, did you talk to your PO about the scope? Does the team understand the scope? So at the last 1 week of the PI, you're going to be planning for the next PI. So you're going to be 2 days, completely 2 days in a PI planning as well. So that's 2 days gone from your sprint. Now you have 8 days left, right? So again, the 8 days could be you're finalizing, you're buttoning up the whole plan, or you could be, some companies as well use the term innovation sprint. If the team finishes all the work that we've committed to and they have 5 days, right, the team can start innovating. We can actually start the team. What do you think is the best that we can develop to help the company? right? So we call it innovation sprint, that the team actually comes up with the work that they want to do. It's a goal for a lot of companies. A lot of companies, they strive to go to innovation sprint, but again, it is a term that the industry knows very well, that we want to make the last sprint as an innovation sprint, that we let the team innovate. Mohammed worked with the team that when they got to the innovation sprint, the team wanted to integrate Siri into Confluence. Confluence is where we throw documents. We work with two sources of truth. We work with Jira, which is pretty much the thing that we track all the work, but we leave all the documentations in Confluence. So the team decided as an innovation that we want to integrate Siri into Confluence, so you can actually talk to Confluence. Hey, Confluence, give me all the information about team, I don't know, X. So Confluence will start and searching. So that's an innovation that the company never thought about, but the team thinks is going to help them, right? So that's something that we use in the 6th sprint. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. I have a request for the team here, please. All the team members that they have their name, I'm just going to pick on Kristen, EJ, Mathilda. Okay. Everybody here, please, that you have a single name or just like 2 acronyms, please make sure that you're renaming your name on Zoom and it's your first and last name. If you're in a company and you come up with just one name, it's going to be repetitive and you need to have your first and last name. Please, in Zoom, hover on your name and rename yourself. Make it your first and last name. Okay, sounds lovely. Thank you for updating your first and last name again, Christina, Mathilda. Please make sure that you're updating your first and last name. Okay, sounds lovely. I'd love to, before I dive into the idea boards, do you have any questions? Sounds good. Let me hit the idea board.
I can bring it up, Mohammed. I have it open.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's please share. Can we please share the link in the chat?
Yes, just give me 1 second. Let me get this one out of the way because we just answered it.
I actually just got the link as well, so I can share it. My computer doesn't like idea boards today for some reason. It's not.
I've shared it already.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm sharing. Mohammed just shared the link on the chat. This is something that this is the same tool that we use for retrospectives. So that's why I want you to play with it. We just shared the link. Right now, I'm asking everybody please to start voting on the questions that we have. We're going to use the top. We might have time to take all the questions, but again, in retrospectives, if you come up with 5 action items, you're not going to be able to improve on 5 things in a sprint, because you really want to improve on 1 or 2 things because you have work as well, commitments that you need to finish. So you want to pick up, I'd say, the top of the cake, which whatever has demand on. So I'm going to ask the team members please to vote on the cards. We're going to pick the first 4 cards. What you can do as well, just so I can share, how do you vote on those cards? It's just like you hit the card and then you can just add the thumbs up more. We have removed any limit. When we're setting this board, you can actually set the board for everybody to have like 1 like, 2 likes, whatever, but we left it with no limit. So if you really want to push for your material, you can put 1,000 likes there, okay? All right, now we can actually pretty much sort by on the right here and vote, and then start seeing the first one. I see job opening like Scrum Master, Business Analyst. We are advised to go for it, but for me, I think they are 2 different roles. Okay, good question. Who advised you to go for a Scrum Master Business Analyst? Because if I apply for jobs, I will skip Scrum Master Business Analyst because they are two roles and they want you to do two things, and I would focus only on the Scrum Master role. A business analyst is a person that really knows the business, has worked in this business before, and he or she will become the right hand man or woman for the product owner, so they can write a bunch of user stories and make sure that the backlog in a priority order. So a business analyst and a Scrum Master is a very risky combination. You will be doing two jobs, and guess what? You might be even doing three jobs, because you'll be doing the Scrum Master job, the business analyst job, and even the PO job. So my answer to this is do not apply for a mix. So I can apply for a Scrum Master project manager, okay? Because they're pretty much very close, right? The only thing maybe addition as a project manager is you might be handling budget. And it's not something that I want you to get scared of, because every company, they handle their own budget with different way. It could be a simple Excel sheet, it could be a Microsoft project. But again, it's something that if I get asked, hey, would you be able to work as a project manager, for example? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, what are the difference between project manager and Scrum Master? I'd be like, well, I think project manager is more of looking at budget. They have like status reports that they provide every week. And these stuff are something definitely I can work with. And I worked with it in my previous roles as well. Something that Mohammed mentioned is, please make sure that you try to limit the no in any interview. If I ask you something and said I didn't do it, most likely you're about to get eliminated, right? So if I ask you something and say, I worked on it high level, or I worked close to it, try to always relate to anything that you get in an interview, because it is actually related to pretty much the job description. Okay, any question about the business analyst and a project and a Scrum Master?
I have a question.
Go for it.
You mentioned a business analyst and a product owner. Are they doing like the same job?
No, a business analyst, again, is the right hand of the product owner, which is helping the product owner with writing stories and helping the product owner with speaking to the business, because they are the people that the most expert person about the current state of the business, how the system behaves now, not the future. Now is the business analyst. The best person that knows the future, where we want to go, is the product owner. So the product owner, when she's writing a story and she's like, oh, what is it in production now? How do we do it now? So the person would answer this question is the business analyst. So the business analyst knows the business very well, helps with writing maybe stories, helps the product owner speak to the business, helps the product owner work with the business, but the product owner owns the backlog, even if somebody is helping them to write the backlog, but the product owner owns the priority, owns working with business, owns the committing on the behalf of the team to stories as well. Make sense?
Yes, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, moving to the next one. I see another 9. I think some team, we're still getting updates, so maybe let's update on, okay, let's pull next 9. I can see the screen as well. Okay, cool. Thank you, Mohammed. What do we track with burn down and burn up?
I can take this one if you want, Mohammed.
That's fine. We track the progress of the work, okay? A burn down is, let me share the screen. So burn up and burn down. Here, a burn down is used. If I actually ask anybody, what do you read on this burn down? Let me ask the team first. What do you read from this burn down? Can somebody from the team? If I tell you read this burn down, can somebody tell me what's up here?
It means the team is about to reach the goal when it comes to 0.
Okay, what else? So you started here, right? We're about, they reached the goal, I would say. They've burned it already, but what else do you think?
The tickets are closed. I mean,
Awesome. What else?
You can also see the number of sprints, like the different dates on the horizontal axis.
This is not number of sprints, these are days. So
Oh,
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 days. That's the full sprint.
Okay, that's a single sprint. Okay.
sprint is
Okay, so here, let's say Mohammed asked me that question, and we'll answer it since this is a recording. The entire team can learn from this.
Go for it. So if you read this chart, can you read it for me?
Yes, of course. So I can see that the team committed to 10 story points. And on day 2, the team was able to start closing stories, probably like 1 point, day 3, another point, day 4, another point, day 5, another point. And then probably the team went on weekend and then came back to work. The first day they closed 1 more point. Then the next day they did not close anything. They just kept on working. And then I can see a very strong going down from there. And the last 3 days they closed 6 points.
And you finished everything.
And they finished probably halfway through the last day. So they had probably like extra 6 hours that the team was just chilling and looking ahead at a new work for the new burn down, for the new sprint.
Any questions for Mohammed on what this burn down is? Okay, let's open another burn down. Can somebody tell me, besides Mohammed, what is this burn down? Can somebody read it for me? Anyone on the team? Can somebody read this burn down for me?
I can try.
Go for it.
All right. So they had on the first day, they had 37 stories.
What does that mean? They had in the first day in the sprint 37 stories. It means that they have committed to 37 stories. Anything you bring in the sprint, it's a commitment. Okay. So it means that the team started day 1 committing. If I read it, I'm going to say, well, the team committed to 35 story points and managed to burn.
They managed to burn down to 7.
I don't know. They burned like 30 points, and there's 6 points carry over that we couldn't finish, but the team believes that we're going to finish it early on in the next sprint. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Now let's look at a burnout. What is a burnout? And again, I'm going to ask Mohammed first to read this burnout, and then we're going to ask the team. So Mohammed, if you read this, oops. The one that go for it, please.
So how is this graph calculated? Like by using which points do we need to write any query or something for it?
No, this is on Jira. It captures it from the team's board.
So pretty much.
Go ahead, Mohammed.
No, finish it up.
Yeah, so whatever the team ends up updating, I always say to my team members, if it's not on the board, it doesn't exist. So if they are working on something that came to them as an email request or something like that, it needs to be a Jira ticket on the board so we can track it and give the team credit for it. So
go ahead.
If it's on Jira and it's tracked as a user story, then it will be reflected in a burn down chart from Jira itself.
So if you have an access to Jira, can you just show us like how it looks exactly?
Well, I don't have access to Jira currently, but I can show you Jira burn down. It's going to look exactly like this.
Okay.
So a team starts, it's going to look exactly like this. So a team started at 50. They added a story, it seems, but they just burned it right away. And then I added another story and burned it right away, and then started burning. This gray is the weekends, non-working days over here. You can see non-working days, the gray. So this is the weekend, and then they added the story, and then they started burning the steps. And then they've got into the last sprint, and then they did not finish everything. They had 5 points or 4 points to carry over. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so once the user stories are created and the story points are added and the tasks, this one is automatically done by Jira, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes, there is a tab in Jira that gives you reports, and it's just going to give you burn down, burn up, and the velocity of the team, and is automatically just pulling from whatever you have in the sprint. So if you open the sprint and all the stories are 0, there's no burn down because there's nothing to calculate, right? So it is calculating the total story point of that sprint and then starting burn down. Once you finish the story, you close it, it burns it pretty much.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And again, this is by design that we're not actually going to the tool itself, Jira, because there are so many tools like Jira. There are version 1, Rally, Azure DevOps, and name it. There's so many others. Tools, there's AHA, Asana. There are so many tools that does the same thing. But what we really care about is that you understand that the story is going to go through a life cycle from to do into in progress, into code review, into testing, and then into waiting for demo and then close. Every story or every task is going to go through the same life cycle, whether it's sitting on Jira or Azure DevOps or version 1 or Rally or so many other tools. So what we do is we train you that to be system agnostic pretty much. Yes, we say that we work with Jira, but again, you might end up working with completely different tool. And we're going to teach you and give you kind of like a ramp up once we know what is the tool that you're going to work with. But again, all the work and in the interviews that you're hearing, we are kind of like system agnostic. We try to keep it very, very high level, but again, to the point that you can explain that you managed to lead successful teams. Did I answer your question?
Yes. So one more, so all the tools they can calculate this burn down automatically, right? With the user story. Okay.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay. Let's look at a burn up now. So burn up. I want to look at a simple burn up first. So let's look at this one. Actually, I want to look at a cool burn up. Okay, whatever. Yeah, let's look at this one. Mohammed, can you read this burn up for me?
I feel like I'm being tested right now. All right, so I can see in this one that we started, the scope for this sprint is going to be 15 points. It's between 14 and 16, so it's about 15 points. That's the commitment for this sprint. And then I can see that the team kept on working for, I'm gonna say from 02 to 05, that's 10 business days, okay? So I would say this entire line is 10 business days, then the team worked for 3 days and they did not deliver anything. At the end of the 3rd day, the team delivered about 5 story points. It could be one story that's 5-pointer. And then the team worked for a couple of days and then they delivered 2 points. And right after that, probably at the start of the next day, the team delivered from 7 to 12. So 5 story points, another 5 story points. And then they worked for probably half a day and then they delivered another 3 story points. Okay. And then I can see here that the team kept on working until the end, and they did not deliver anything. So there is a gap here. They missed on 1 point. Also, the red line that shows you right there that Mohammed is hovering on, that red line is actually the scope that the team did commit to. Towards probably the 7th day, no, towards like the 6th day of the sprint, I can see that somebody added to the sprint, it went from 15 points to 18 points. So somebody added 3 points, and then probably he got pushed back from the team saying that we cannot handle that much scope. So he took out 2 points and kept 1 point from those 3 points. That's what I can read from this.
Okay, I'm going to read this one. Thank you, Mohammed. Appreciate it. But let's see, any questions on this chart from anyone?
Oh yeah, one last thing. That gray line that you see here, the gray line that is, yes, that is the optimal virtual line, the ideal burnout. If you're hovering around that line, or you keep crossing it back and forth, that means you're doing good. If you're way off, like for example, from day 1 to day 3, it did not touch that line. There is a big gap here, and then they caught up to it. Does that make sense? Silence means acceptance, so yes.
So what does this red line actually means? The gray is something the team, no.
The red line is scope creep line.
Okay, got it. Okay. Something new enhancements getting added to the existing user story is called like a scope creep, right?
No. This is it's not new or anything. That is actually one of the main questions that you will be getting in an interview is, what is the difference between burn up and burn down? The answer should be like this. Burn up and burn down are the same exact thing. They're representing the same exact thing. They're just inverted. Okay. The only difference between them, that the burn up will have scope creep line to show when there is scope added or taking out of the sprint. The only difference between them also is one starts from 0, ends at the scope that was the team committed to. So let's say they committed to 50 points. The burn up will start from 0, end at 50. Versus the burn down will start from 50 and at 0.
Right. What is scope creep means?
Change in scope, a change in commitment that you've committed. Let's call this a scope, which is the commitment, which is a 15 point. Scope creep is that we added work that we didn't plan for. That's a scope creep.
Okay. Something like bugs or something?
Not necessarily. A scope creep is, it could be, yes, we found bugs that we have to bring it, or we found a piece of functionality that the product owner think it is the highest piece of functionality that we need to work on now. But to the team itself, there is a scope creep happened, which is there's unexpected scope entered the commitment that we did not plan for in day 1.
Okay. Then how is the efficiency calculated when something like this happens?
Efficiency gets calculated whatever the last day in the sprint, what you have pretty much added or removed. But that's a great point that you're asking, and which is health. Okay. So in most of the tools, there's something will be called the sprint health. And this is the efficiency at the end of the sprint. You see day 2 days left, 2 days left, for example. Let's take this one. So 0 days left, we finished everything, and 100% time lapse, it means that we finished the sprint, right? But scope change is 0%. It means that there's no scope creep happen in this sprint. But over here, let's see here, 9 days left in the sprint, but the scope creep is 235%. That's a red flag. If you go to to any management, or any management sees this, they'll be like, whoa, you changed the whole scope of the sprint in one day. But it could have an explanation. I could go with this, and I say that we actually started the sprint, but we did not bring all the stories and we did an error. So we had to bring the stories that we've committed to, right? But usually you want to bring the scope. You want to control the scope as much as possible because it's only 10 days, right? So if you keep changing your opinion in 10 days, probably you have a problem, right? So you want to always limit the scope changes. Look at here, for example, this team. If I show you this team, it started, they have 0 days left. They only delivered 6 points, the green, and they have in progress 19 points, and they didn't even touch 14 points, which is still in to do. So it shows you pretty much the whole health of the team.
Okay, so where it is calculated, like in Jira, which tab?
Again, this is called the sprint health gadget. It's exactly like the burn down, burn up. It's a gadget. It's a piece of that you add it in your dashboard, like exactly the burn down, burn up, and the velocity. It's called the sprint health gadget, which share with you who are the main players in the sprint, who were working in this sprint. These are the developers and testers. This is the work has been completed. This is the work in progress. This is the work is still in to do. And pretty much it tells you that 49% time lapse and work completed 53%. You have not changed any of the scope. There's a story blocked in your board, and you have a story that has a flag on it, which is something probably that you need to look at.
Okay, so even this is also automatically calculated in every tool in a tab, right?
Yes, yes. It is a live automated dashboard, pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. And let me just advise the team with this, that if you get, like you want to see automated dashboard or stuff, please redo your research like you see here right now. I'm not sure if everybody does this, but most of the research that I do, I search something and I look at pictures because it gives me super high level. But if I want to dive even deeper, I can look at videos as well. But to me, I like to look at pictures. It gives me, a picture can say 1,000 words. That's something for sure. So this is your burn up, whoever was asking. This is the Jira dashboard. You can see here, like the sprint gadget that we were saying. This is the burn up. And pretty much if I say here, Jira. Here's your Jira dashboard. Let me pick a fancy one. But this is something I want to share with you, that whenever you actually start your job, this is something that we do with every team member here, is we actually physically ask you, what is the project that we're working on? What is the team? How many team members? And we work with you to make sure that you have a very automated dashboard that you will wow everybody once you join the company. So that's something that we do with every team members once you join the company as well, to help you to have an awesome dashboard so you can stand out as well. But again, we're not sure what tool you're going to use, so it could be a whole waste of time for us to teach you Jira dashboard and you will be working with something else. So I think what I wanted to share you, mainly the dashboard, that one of the first thing is going to be the sprint health gadget. I also say burn out, burn down, burn up, and the velocity of the team. That's what I look for mainly. All right. Does that answer the question that we were talking about? What is the difference between a burn up and a burn down? Again, the answer is they're both pretty much similar. A burn down is you start from the whole commitment, you get to 0. A burn up is you start from 0 until you get to the whole commitment. The only difference is pretty much the burn up gives you a different line of representation to tell you if there is a scope creep. Okay, we will take one more question. I think we can wrap up.
I was gonna say, Mohammed, let's give this to the team members if they have any questions, anything that they would like to know first before we pull up anything, because we have actually an interview right after this.
Yeah, I want to be respectful of everyone's time as well.
Yeah, we have only 1 minute left. So any questions from anybody in the call?
I had a question. Like, as you said, in scope creep, we add something in the ongoing sprint, right?
Yes.
So it is not allowed, right? Until the until the sprint is over, we cannot add any other features for the developers to develop.
Correct, but I want you to understand something. The definition of Scrum is to be agile, and the definition of being agile is being adapted to change. So you should never say no. You should find solutions for your product owner. Your product owner is the most one that knows what is the highest priority item that the team should be working on. And if he comes to you in the middle of the sprint, trust me, he has done the thinking about it. He knows what he's doing, and he did, regardless of all the thoughts that went in his mind, he still has asked you to add that story into the sprint. That means that story is higher priority than anything that the team is working on. You, as a Scrum Master, what you should be doing is facilitating a healthy conversation between the product owner and the team in order for the team to understand the ask. And then if the team is at capacity, they committed to 100 points and their capacity is 100 points, then you ask the product owner, if this is the highest priority item on the board, then what is the least priority item that's on the board that we can kick out so we bring this in place of it? That's what I would do, but I would never say, no, this is not allowed. It's one of the most important things for us as Scrum Masters. It's to coach the team on how to be agile, and there is always more than one answer. It's not only a yes or no answer.
Agile is you're open to change. You're always welcoming change. So we never say no, but we give justification. So a product owner wants to add more work to the sprint, to the whole PI, to the whole year. Before we say yes or no, I ask them, well, does it take higher priority than we have in the sprint? If the answer is yes, now we got to find a way to bring it. So if our commitment is 50 points and everybody is working on a piece that we don't have a bandwidth to pull it, but the product owner says that it has higher priority than what we have, then my next question to the product owner is what's coming out. Okay, so we've committed to 50. You want to bring a 5 story points. We need to kick out the 5 story points from the sprint so we don't drown the team. That's your role as a Scrum Master, just to protect the team, make sure that we're not over committing and your team is not drowning. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, I think this could wrap our call. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I know we have an interview. Who is on an interview today? Can you please raise your hand?
I'm the one. It's Mercy.
Awesome, Mercy. Okay, sounds lovely. All right, team. Well, I really appreciate your time. Your team have a great rest of your day. We have an interview with Mercy. Mercy, would you be okay if team members, anybody would like to listen to the call, or no? Is your decision. Mercy, if you're speaking, you're mute.
She's like, man.
Yes, I think I'm okay with that, given that this is a learning experience to all of us.
Perfect.
So if anybody is open to, maybe you never can tell, the corrections too can come from the classmates, so it's okay. I mean,
awesome. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Perfect. All right, team. Well, we're just gonna pause the recording and then run it again, just so we can have like a segment. You see the class, and then